Hello, sanibonani babukeli sinamukele kulo Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. Uyazi ke mbukeli seza kuwe bukhoma la kumamba phambili SABC 1 eMzansi for sure, of course na ku SABC Plus. Uyazi ke lo uMangcolose uMajali othi nje molweni sanibonani, and welcome to yet another informative episode. Mbukeli, are you currently caught up in a dispute with your service provider? Uma ke uzithola amalungelo akho ehlukunyezwa njengomthengi, kumele phela wazi mbukeli ukuthi amahhovisi abekele ukuthi akuvikele akhona eduze nawe. Yes mbukeli, relief is not that far away if your consumer rights are currently being violated, as each of the country's provinces has a Consumer Affairs Office to assist you. And Gauteng has of course taken it a step further by having a functioning consumer court. Ake sizwe kangcono ngalolu daba. Another milestone in the protection of consumer rights. A dedicated court attached to Gauteng's Consumer Affairs Office promises to assist you fight back should you find yourself in a contractual dispute, abuse or poor service from a supplier. Sikhuluma nje manje sekuze kwabekwa phela namajaji azohlalela amacala aphathelene nokucekelwa phansi kwamalungelo abathengi. Uphapha Mantshangana Dube usilethelana nkumbiko mbukeni.
Esisakhiwo iMunotho House yindawo yokhuselo lwamalungelo abathengi. Likhaya leofisi elwela amalungelo abathengi. Njenga kumaphondo onke eli, iGauteng nayo izingca ngokuba neofisi efikelelekayo nekufutshane kubathengi beliphondo. Kulapho abathengi befumana khona ubulungisa bakugaxeleka kwiimeko zokuxhatshazwa ngoosomashishini abaziphethe gwenxa. Ekunyanzeleka ukuba bajamelane namadabi okuxhatshazwa kwiindawo zoshishino lweempahla neenkonzo. Le ofisi yephondo yokhuselo lwamalungelo abathengi, iGauteng Consumer Affairs Office, ichonge ijaji kutshanje ezizokuchophela amatyala aphethelene namalungelo abathengi.
Then lana ke kuhlala i-clerk of court, lana ke kuzohlala ke lo muntu ozomela i-respondent. This is the company which has been brought to court. When a witness is called to give ubufakazi ke nama court members, uzosuka la suka khona or lapha ko audience azohlala lana ke. Bese bamswera in and then uzonikeza ke ubufakazi. Then bese lana ke kuhlala i-consumer protector, then consumer ke ifake i-complaint le consumer protector amena yena.
Le ofisi ejongene nemicimbi yabathengi nekwanale nkundla echophela amatyala aphethelene namalungelo abathengi ilelinye lamanyathelo lokusondeza ukhuseleko kubathengi beli kumaphondo ngamaphondo. Ukanti ke ukuchongwa kwejaji ezintsha kwinkundla yabathengi kwiphondo laseGauteng kuzise ithemba lokuba amalungelo wabo aswe iso. Nangona ezi ofisi ezisingatha imiba yabathengi sezineminyaka zasekwa kumaphondo ngamaphondo, abantu abaninzi abanalwazi luphangaleleyo ngazo. Kungoko bathi abaninzi bakugaxeleka ezingxakini baswele amaqhinga, uncedo lukufutshane nabo simahla. Kukhuthazwa ke ukuba abathengi bazame ukuziqhelanisa nezi ofisi ukuxhamla kwiinkonzo zazo. Phapha Mantshangana Dube, Yilungelo Lakho.
Some good news indeed. Mbukeli asibonge kakhulu ngalo mbiko. Manje ke Mbukeli ukukhuluma nathi kabanzi phela ngokuthi asebenza kanjani lama Consumer Affairs Offices kanye nenkantolo yamacala ebhekene namalungelo abathengi asamukele ke of course umvikeli wamalungelo abathengi eGauteng uSanele Mthuli. We are just waiting for her. She's just arrived here in studio. She'll be joining us shortly, and she is the Gauteng Consumer Protector ephelekezelwa ke nguMesimele Viljoen ongihleli naye la studio. Yena ke umele ihovisi ke Mbukeli elivikela amalungelo abathengi lapha eGauteng. Millie, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for having us.
Thank you so much. Millie, look, okay. I've been asking you while we're off air, like, when was this court actually established? And you are telling me alarming information. Please share with the viewers.
Yeah, no, thank you, Alicia. Our Consumer Affairs Court was actually established as far back as 2000. Remember, it's established in terms of the Unfair Business Practice Act, number 7 of 1996. And then the court was actually, like, formally opened in the year 2000. And since we've heard over 400 matters, so the court has been operational. We just had a bit of a lull in the sense that some of the court members' terms had ended. So we had to get new members. We had to go through the process of, advertising, appointing new members, and then the MEC finally got to swear in the new court members. So in total, we have about 8 members currently, court members. 5 are permanent, and then we have 3 alternates. So yeah, so the court is operational. I mean, and nationally as well, there is a fully functioning court in Limpopo, KZN, the Free State. So those are the provinces that actually have, courts. So consumers are well protected across the country.
But how many people are aware of this information, Millie? As we saw on the insert, a lot of people just know about the Consumer Affairs Office, not necessarily that there is a specialized and dedicated court that deals with consumer affairs.
Look, we try our best through our education programs. That we educate and empower consumers with this information so that they know that they have recourse, they have redress. When the matter comes to our office and there is, for example, there is a pushback by a supplier, or the complaint can just not be resolved at that point of investigation, then it can be referred to the consumer protector. Okay. And then she will then decide and then further investigate or put the matter on the court roll. So yeah, so platforms like this, we need the information. And you're right, not many consumers know about the existence of some of our offices, and let alone the existence of the Consumer Affairs Courts.
Look, talk to us about the functionalities of the courts in specific, Millie. What are some of the outputs specifically by these courts? And I think you've just explained that, of course, the process is that it needs to go through the consumer protector before the case actually reaches there. So which nature of court cases are we also talking about here?
Look, we're talking about allegations of unfair business practice.
So this deals specifically with consumer rights and
yes,
nothing else?
And nothing else. Okay. Consumer-related issues and complaints against unfair business practices, fraudulent transactions, or just general exploitations of consumers. That is where the court comes in.
Okay.
And specifically where we find that some of the respondents, which is the businesses or suppliers, they don't come to the party. They don't see the importance that consumers have rights and they need to respect those rights.
Absolutely.
So that is where the court comes in, and then there is then, it's almost like an appeals court. If the matter was not resolved at the investigation stage, then the consumer can then have a further a platform to appeal the matter, and then it can, the consumer protector can then formally then put the matter on the court roll if needs be, and then the independent, and remember our court members are independent, they're not employed by government.
Okay.
These are totally, we're talking about economists, we're talking about professors of law, we're talking about consumer journalists. we're talking about economists, people with extreme knowledge of consumer protection. One of our court members has been a consumer tribunal member. So we have quite qualified and competent members.
And this is what I wanted to know, Millie. I was about to ask you, do you have actual judges that are judging, making judgments upon these matters? And I wanted to know a bit about your members, but you've just explained that to us. So maybe talk to us about the processes. Is it the same as that of a normal court system, or there's a specific and designed process for these specific cases when you come to the consumer court?
Yeah, no, it's slightly different because ours is a tribunal.
Okay.
Ours is a tribunal, so the matters is we basically, it's almost like we have the respondent present, which is the business of the
Can they be represented by lawyers?
Yes, they can bring their representation, and the consumer is represented by our consumer protector, and she will elaborate more when she comes in terms of that process, how that unfolds. But there is the fact that the consumer, there's no added cost for the consumer, because that is where the office steps in, and we have the consumer protector, which is almost like your prosecutor in the court.
All right. So everything is free of charge in this process, Millie?
Yes, 100% free of charge to the consumer.
I think my viewers love that information. Mbogeni, we're going to take a very quick ad break. Uma sibuyake, we're going to be welcoming the consumer protector yala eGauteng. Ngisho yena ke uSisanele Mthuli ezobe ezosiza uSisimile ukuthi sazi ukuthi lama courts adila nezinto zama consumers zisebenza kanjani. So stay tuned. Ngizobe ngivula nezingcingo after this break. Don't go anywhere. Okay, welcome back. Izingcingo zami ke manje sengizivuliwe. Ungakwazi ke ukubamba iqhaza ngokuthi usithumele i-email ku consumer@sabc.co.za. Alternatively, call us live in studio ku 011-714-0669. Alternatively, 714-0670. Ungasithumela futhi ne WhatsApp ku 060-844-9857 or usithole lapha on our social media platforms. Let's now welcome the Gauteng Consumer Protector, Sanele Mthuli. Sanele, thank you so much for joining us in Toga.
Ngiyabonga ukuthi ningi-invite sanibonani babukele emakhaya.
Sanele, usitshele kabanzi ngokuthi wenzani wena umsebenzi wakho njenge-consumer protector?
Umsebenzi wami ngi-representa ama-consumer emacaleni, ama-goods and services. I will make umzekelo ukuthi uma ngabe uthenge imoto and later on you discover within the period of 6 months ukuthi imoto leyo oyithengile imoshakele or inama defects ayisebenzi ngendlela ababekuthembise ukuthi isebenza ngayo, or kukhona izinto abangazange bazisho ku lawo macala ke ngiyawathatha ngwayisenkantolo kube yimi engithatha over i-responsibility ka-consumer ukuthi azimele bese ngimrepresenta tribunal yethu, which is Gauteng Consumer Court.
All right. And then, Sanele, I mean, Umili obviously had given us a little bit of headway in terms of the functionalities of the court. But sicela ukwazi ukuthi i-process ukuze ifike kuwena we-refer to enkantolo the consumer court. Kusuke ihambe kanjani? Ama-case anjani lawo esikhuluma ngawo?
Njengoba bese ngike ngasho ekuqaleni, isikhathi esiningi amaningi ama-case uma ngibuka i-trend analysis yami, ama-case amacala imoto.
Okay.
Uthole ukuthi umbukele ekhaya uthenge imoto uspende u200,000 and uyi-dealership le athenge kuyo imoto ayizange imtshele ukuthi imoto kwesinye isikhathi u-gearbox awusebenzi. Ngizosebenzisa i-terminology ejwayelekile, i-gearbox ayisebenzi or izinto ezithile ngaphakathi emotweni azisebenzi. Abanye bayayithenga imoto uthola ukuthi ithatha 2 days emva kwalokho yacima ayisakwazi ukusebenza. Okwenzekayo ke kuye kuthiwe in terms of section 69 we Consumer Protection Act, if kuukuthi imoto umuntu uyakwazi ukuqala ahambisa icala lakhe ku-ombudsman, imoto industry ombudsman.
Oh yes.
From lapho if imoto ombuds yona umsebenzi wayo ukuthi benze i-conciliation or i-mediation.
Okay.
Uma ngabe ihluleka i-mediation kuye kube yilapho ke bekufanele bahambe bayithathe i-case bayihambise e-National Consumer Commission. Kwesinye isikhathi sithola ama-cases that are referred from i-Consumer Commission to office lethu ngoba sine consumer court as ukhuluma nathi namhlanje.
Oh, okay.
So kulawo macala manjalo ke ayithi mayifika kithi ibisifika ivele sihambise siyise enkantolo.
Okay.
Siyasenze investigation. Kuleyo investigation ilapho ke esikwazi ukuthola yonke imininingwane yokuthi umbukele ekhaya imoto mayithengile uyithenge kuphi ubeyithenge ngamalini yini le eyenza ukuthi imoto ingasasebenzi or kube khona into wrong ngemoto. Kwesinye isikhathi size sihambe siyocela ukuthola abantu abama expert as technicians abazosixilongela kahle ngokusobala ukuze uma ngabe sihambisa icala enkantolo sibe clear ukuthi yonke icala lethu linobufakazi obudlula ikhanda ukuthi senze ukuthi umbukeli akwazi ukuthola imali yakhe kabusha.
Yo, Sanele, this sounds like a long process. Nya investigator, nyolanda ama technicians. How long does this whole process actually like take to completion?
Amacala ethu ayafana namacala enkantolo ezijwayelekile. Kwesinye isikhathi neqembu elisebenza nami ama investigators. Kulawo ma investigators kuyenzeka kwesinye isikhathi uthola ukuthi bayaya lapho kwi dealership and within that process yokuya kwi dealership bafike bamchazela ukuthi cha isikhathi esiningi ngizokwenza umzekelo again. Isikhathi esiningi uyothole ukuthi ama section 56 uthi ama consumer fanele atshelwe ukuthi yini errong emotweni. Uma ngabe ama suppliers or ama dealership ebathengisela imoto ayenze I blanket disclosure eyokuthi ngoba le imoto esebenzile or second hand kufanele uyilindele izinto ezinjena kanti umthetho awusho kanjalo. Umthetho uclear ukuthi kufanele uma ngabe ingxaki yemoto iku gearbox kusho lokho kumbukele ekhaya ukuthi imoto inengxaki ye gearbox. Yilapho ke sisikhathi esiningi sithole ukuthi umuntu utshelwe ukuthi ngoba imoto esisebenzile le hayi ukufanele ukulindele iwear and tear ngamanye amagama. So into eyenzeke ke ukuthi uma ngabe sekufike lapho bese siyahamba ke senze amaphepha ethu. Okunye okumangazayo ama dealership abavele ba decide ukuthi bazoqasha abameli abazolwela amacala abo. Yiyo ke enye into eyenza amacala ethu adelay. Kodwa njengoba bese ngike ngasho uthola ukuthi ama investigators i-team yami engisebenza nayo bayaya endaweni yakhe bafike bamchazela ukuthi cha umthetho ubeka uthi kufanele kwenzeke kanje bese yazibona ukuthi cha ngenze iphutha. Kwesinye isikhathi athi hayi ngicela ningiphe isikhathi asayine settlement agreement lapho ezokwazi ukuthi akhokhe ngamancozu akwazi ukuphindisela ukuthatha imoto ayidayise abesenikeza iconsumer imali yayo back.
Alright, siyakuzwa ke ntokazi asiye lapha ezengcingweni. Mrs. Mhlongo, I beg yours, la Johannesburg has been on the line. Mrs. Mhlongo, sakwamukela ma ohlelweni sicela umbuzo wakho noma umbono.
Ngiyabonga mama ngiyabonga Alicia. Ngine problem ngathenga cell phone ePick n Pay.
Mrs. Mhlongo ngicela uqale phansi mama sikuzwa.
Ngithi ngithenge i-cell phone ePick n Pay.
Ungalisho igama la uthenge khona ma kodwa qhubeka.
Yeah, iyangilasta only a month.
Okay.
Ngayibuyisela back kubo ngathi ngicela bangilungisele or banginikeze enye phone.
Okay.
Bathi hayi bazayithumela kuma repairs yolungiswa.
Okay.
And then kwakuJune ngibona manje sekuSeptember and mangiye shop babamba bayeka bathi ithunyelwe kuma repairs izobuya manje angazi ngenze njani.
Okay, le cell phone ma ibine insurance I-agreement ilokhuzana I-warranty guarantee ibithini?
Angisakhumbuli kahle ngoba ngayithenga cash.
Oh, okay. But since iphone uyibuyisele kubona bathi bayilungisa abazange bakunikeze a spare phone or anything?
Azange banginike ne-spare phone bathi nje nayi receipt gogo uzawufonela mase i-ready. Manje ngiqiqa lapha every Saturday ngithi ngiyo-check. Ngimdala.
Okay ma, uthi sekudlula isikhathi esingakanani uyihambisile le phone beyithathile ma?
Bayithathe ngoJune.
Okay, up until manje abakakunikezi?
na Saturday bengibuya kubo ngithi ngicela ukuthi bafonele labo laba
Okay.
balena bathi bayinikeze laba badelivayo mara yikho.
Oh, okay, salukwazi ngiyabonga kakhulu mawami sicela ulalele lapho kumabona kude wakho ngizozama ke ukuthi mina nezivakashi zami sizame ukukusiza. Mbukeli nawe ungasithinta lana ocingweni usithumele i-email consumer@sabc.co.za usithole on our social media platforms. We back shortly after this sikhuluma ngezinkantolo ezibekele ukuthi zidile ncamashi nama consumer related issues njengoba nje uMesisi Mhlongo kade esho. We coming back shortly after this ungayindawo. Welcome back to Yilungelo Lakho la kumamba phambili SABC1 as well as of course uma unayo i-app ye SABC Plus. We are talking about ama consumer court nokuthi akhona mbukeli ukuthi anivikele phela amalungelo enu njengabathengi. So awudingi ukuthi uloku ugijinyiswa ushona lena i-service provider ngoba phela ingafuni ukuthi ikusize or they are taking advantage of you. My guest today, Ms. Viljoen, she is the Gauteng Consumer Affairs Officer, and of course Ms. Sanele Mthuli, she is the Gauteng Consumer Protector. Siyakhuluma ke mbukeli ngokuthi iziphi wena izinto okumele uzazi ngoba kuthiwa lenkantolo kade zakhiwa since the year 2000. Ungashayela ucingo nazi i-numbers lapho on the screen 0117140669, alternatively 7140670. Ungasithola futhi na ku WhatsApp ku 060-844-9857 noma ke wena uma phela une access to email consumer@sabc.co.za. All right, so ladies, we heard from Mrs. Mhlongo before the ad break. Millie, is there anything you want to say there? What can she do? How can we assist her?
Yeah, now that's exactly what we're saying. You know, we always say, you know, education is the best form of protection, you know, consumer protection. So that is why it's part of our education programs. We educate consumers on their rights. So a typical one of the rights that the consumer definitely has is the right to quality. You know, quality and safety, it's one of the rights that the consumer have. You can't sell me a product then within a month it is then defective. And when I return it, then there's issues. So, but without having to go into the merits of the case, we advise consumers to lodge such matters with our office, and then it will be dealt with by our office so that we can look into the matter and where has a supplier gone wrong, where has a consumer gone wrong? Because sometimes consumers are not always innocent.
True, yes.
You know? So that is where we say to consumers, look, as much as you have rights, you have responsibilities, and we should remember that. So, but our office is generally there if we find that there's serious issues of you know, unfair business practices. That is where our investigators are there to look into the matter on behalf of the consumer.
And ngifuna ubuza usisanele ukuthi ama powers wenu like lapha yana enkantolo, do you go to such an extent where you can actually shut down a supplier that is not giving proper services to our consumers?
Oh, kuye kwenzeke.
What are the penalties in namandla ukuthi niwakhiphe?
In terms of penalty, umthetho wethu ngebhadi usuku stage la ekufanele align khona njengoba wazi ukuthi kune National Act which is Consumer Protection Act.
Okay.
So i National Consumer Protection Act isinikeza kuwo wonke ama provisions ukuthi kufanele senze njani.
Okay.
But in the process in terms of our court ilapho ke kwesinye isikhathi uma ngabe inkantolo ikuthole unecala lokwenza ibhizinisi ngendlela engamukelekanga, lokho sikubiza ngokuthi Unfair Business Practice Act.
Okay.
Siye sesibe sithathe ifine eyokuthi isitolo sakho kungenzeka sivalwe noma sikumukise ngoba uSection 84 of i-Consumer Protection Act uthi i-custodian or abantu abakwazi ukuvala izitolo abantu be-National Consumer Commission, of which nakhona kune-process ekufanele ilandelwe ukuze sizoba ne-balancing act kuwo wonke ama-consumer kanye nabanikazi bezindawo zokuthengisa.
All right, okay. Uyezwa ke mbukela ukuthi there is action abayithathayo laphayana e-consumer court ukuthi phela benze sure ukuthi labantu who are providing services kunina benza in line with umthetho. Sisinoluthando la eJohannesburg, sakwamukela ntokazi umbuzo wakho noma umbono namhlanje.
Hello, sisunjani?
Ngiyaphila sisunjani?
Ngiyaphila mina. My question is, I have a case a consumer court.
Yes.
The last time I was there, May, mediation, ngatshelwa ukuthi icase yami consumer protector ngizothola idate yase court. Up to today, angatholi date, angatholi explanation, angitholi next.
Okay. All right. I-case yakho imayelana nani Ntokazi? Ungasinikezi nje ama-merits but sifuna uku-understand ukuthi kwenzakaleni.
Mina ngathenga imoto.
Yeah.
Only to find out ukuthi imoto le ngithengisela yona it was involved in accident ngangatshelwanga.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then kwenzakalani sisinothando?
Ngahamba ngaya ku-ombudsman bathi ba-investigateile, mina I was told while I was not.
Okay.
Then even salesman wachaza ukuthi akakaze angitshele naye bekangazi.
Okay.
Yasuka from ombudsman bathi bayivalele icase ombudsman angiye ku-MCC National Consumer Commission yayithumela lapho ku-Consumer Court. La ikhona manje le case iqale 2020.
Okay. And then bathi yini delay siswami bayakunikeza kodwa ama-updates ukuthi kwenzakalani?
Ang-update wangitshelwa next ngihleli nje.
Unayo nje case number ngicela ukhulume nayo nansi consumer protector lana nangu usisanele umbekele mhlawumbe udaba lakho sisi. Sisanele nangu usisinoluthando la eJoburg ungakhuluma naye directly. Uthi case yakhe ikunina since 2020 akakatholi anything emayelana necase yakhe yemoto eyayithengile and it had been involved in an accident of which this was not disclosed to her by the dealership.
Okay. Sawubona sisinoluthando. Ngizothanda ukuxolisa kuqala sike saba ne stage la inkantolo yethu bikade ingasebenzi khona. Kungona siqala ngoba isikhathi sama court members wethu besilapsile. So bekufanele silandele ama processes ke la bekufanele siba appoint kabusha khona ukuze bezokwazi ukuhlala benze onke ama cases. Kungona siqalayo manje bonke ababukeli sizobathinta ababafakile amacala okufanele enkantolo ilesi stage ke manje la sizobathinta khona. Icase yethu yokuqala sine backlog yama case 101.
Okay.
Kulama case 101 kusazofanele sithumele kubo bonke abameli and umthetho wethu uthi kufanele sibanikeze u15 days before singathi icala siyolihlalisa enkantolo.
Okay.
So kuzoba neprocess ezokwenzeka sizomthinta usisinoluthando uma ngabe sesifikile kwicase yakhe. Okunye sikwenzayo ukuthi kunamanye ama case abekade efikile njengoba ukhumbula ukuthi besike saba nesikhathi la kuke kwaba khona iCovid. Ngaleso sikhathi inkantolo futhi ibingahlali ize yahlala mangikhumbula kahle ngo2021 nakhona phakathi nonyaka uma sesibona sengathi sekungconywana sesizilenzile izinto esizozama ukuthi sizame ukuprotecta umphakathi.
Okay.
So i-delay yethu ne-backlog yethu iqhamuka from lapho.
Okay.
So kubo bonke ababukeli abanamacala abawafakileyo enkantolo sizobathinta okwamanje ukuthi amacala mningi umsebenzi kufanele siwenze. So asikwazi ukubathinta bonke ngesikhathi esisodwa. Kubalekile ngoba kwesinye isikhathi uthola ukuthi njengosisinoluthando uthi ugcina ukufika kithi ngoMay. Sizokhuluma naye ngoMay simchazele lokho esimchazela khona ukuthi sisakuyi process icala lakhe selikhohliwe sizolenza. Kodwa uthole ukuthi njengoba ama process ethatha isikhathi lesa sithathayo njengoba sekuze kube uSeptember futhi siphinde sikhuluma into eyodwa kwesinye isikhathi ababukeli leyo nto ayibaphathi kahle bafila sengathi akukho esikwenzayo.
Yebo.
Kanti uma ngabe sesibathinta sekuwukuthi sesibatshela manje ukuthi hayi ke sesinalo ilanga lenkantolo sizokucela ukuthi ufike sizokwazi ukukhulumisana okugcina senze ama preparations ukuze sikwazi ukuyobeka icala lethu enkantolo.
All right. Sisinoluthando, I hope Ntokazi ukuthi uyathobeka enhliziyo lapho uma bekuchazela ke lapha uConsumer Protect ukuthi njengoba kade kunezinto zeCovid amacala amaningi nokuthi kanti bebengaka appoint amanye ama members asenkantolo. Asekhona ke kodwa manje uthi uzothinteka. Mbukeli, if you also having a similar experience or issue, do phone us nanka ama numbers wethu lapho and contact us on all our social media platforms. So Millie, I mean with this backlog, we're talking earlier on before we went on air about how people are not aware that these courts are actually available in each of the provinces, I think we said except two, the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape, but there's obviously means to incorporate those provinces into the system as well. Talk to us about that. I mean, how many, what are you doing to ensure that people are aware that these are functioning courts in the rest of the provinces? And also, where do they go? Can they just rock up to the courts themselves, or they have to go through the protector? How do they launch their cases? I know that the Consumer Protector had given us a little bit of how they can actually initiate a court case there.
Yeah, no, 100%, Alicia. We have a body that we call the Consumer Protection Forum, and all 9 consumer affairs officers are members of that, with the National Consumer Commission and statutory regulators such as the FSCA, such as, for example, NERSA, Council for Medical Schemes, so and then the ombudsmen of the NCC, like MIOSA and the likes. So we are like working very closely with all provinces so that we align all the legislations of the individual provinces with the National Consumer Protection Act, and then also to establish, and all consumer affairs provinces, of provinces that have consumer affairs officers are in the process of making sure that there is uniformity, you know, across the country, so that no one province has consumers which do not have access to a court. So which means consumer justice for those, members in that particular province is limited. And then they will have then to rely on the National Consumer Commission and having their matters heard at the National Consumer Tribunal. So there is really work as far as that matter is concerned. We have what we call referral protocols in place. So if provinces have complaints that needs to go to a competent authority. For example, Sanele mentioned the issue with second-hand or used motor vehicles. So if the matter is too technical for a province to resolve, they would then refer it to MIOSA, similar to the Council for Medical Schemes. If we get complaints that's of a technical nature, prescribed minimum benefits, which the medical schemes are not paying for, which they should be according to the Medical Schemes Act, then those matters are referred to the Council for Medical Schemes. But we also have, committees, which we call like the Consumer Education Committee, where we synchronize our programs and making sure when we do consumer education, we do the same sort of, there is synergies in our programs and our campaigns to make sure that we reach out to all consumers equally, creating awareness of the officers, creating awarenesses of the existence of consumer affairs court, where in a province they do exist, so that consumers know that, look, where do I go for redress? Secondly, unfortunately, consumers cannot just walk in, and go and lodge a
complaint,
case, a complaint, and want to be heard at the Consumer Affairs Court. There is a process that needs to happen, like Sanele has explained. It has to come through her. So a complaint must be lodged with our office, and then if there is a deadlock in terms of the mediation with the investigators, then they would then refer the matter to the Consumer Protector, which in every province, that's the process, which they would then investigate and then decide. Not every matter goes to court. Then she will explain to you also.
All right, she can explain to us after the break, Sanele, because I also want to understand if njengoba i-Consumer Protection Act yasho ukuthi phela sinalo ilungelo lokuthi sincedeke ngolimi lethu. Do these specified courts in these specific provinces cater for that? So ungabu prepare leyo answer ke Mthuli. We're coming back and shortly after this break. We talking about our consumer courts, of which have been in existence. We're coming back shortly after this. Bukeli 011-714-0669 or 714-0670. Those are the magic numbers ukuthi usithole ngazo la e-studio. consumer@sabc.co.za is of course our email address. Ungasithumela futhi ne-WhatsApp ku 060-844-9857. My guest today, Ms. Viljoen, Gauteng Consumer Affairs Office, and of course Sanele Mthuli. She is the Consumer Protector la e-Gauteng. Mbukeli sikhuluma ngala courts ke ahambiselana Consumer Affairs Office ekuthiwa wona abhekelene ncamashi neindaba zenu phela zokuthi i-service provider is giving you a bad service nama-dispute nani so that you don't have to be stuck nenkinga ungazi ukuthi we resolve kanjani. Ungasifonela-ke la esitudio njengoThobetso ose-Pretoria. Thobetso, thank you so much for staying on the line. Welcome to the show this afternoon. Singakunceda kanjani? Ngiyaphila bhuti wami, kunjani?
Ngiyaphila noma ngingajabulanga.
Hayi bo, singakusiza kanjani ukuthi sishintshe leyo mood yakho?
Mina inkinga yami ngathenga i-engine.
Yebo baba.
Mase ngithenge i-engine ngahamba ngayifaka emotweni. Mase ngifake emotweni yayaluku starter. Mase yayaluku starter bathi makangilethe kibo. Ngayibisela ngakibo, mangibisela imoto yami yonke. Mayifika le bafika balungu bavula i-engine. Mabevula i-engine bafica ukuthi ine fault phakathi. Bayilungisa. Mase beyilungisile banginikeza imoto but it was not in a good condition.
Okay.
Ngase ngaya kumiyosa ngareporta i-case kumiyosa. Imiyosa bathi kimi bathi imoto yakho ungayithatha because ama-case wethu athatha isikhathi eside. Because mase ithatha isikhathi eside bazokuchaja ini i-storage.
I-storage, yebo baba.
Yeah, ngathatha imoto leya. Mase ngithatha imoto leya ngizanile ukuyisebenza zange ngisebenza even a month. Badrive imiyosa yayenza i-investigation yabo basebethi ukuthi ababuye bazothatha i-engine yabo bona ngokwabo baphinde banginikeze i-engine esebenzayo. Kodwa bayala ukwenza ngaleyo ndlela. Ukwenza ngaleyo ndlela ngayisa e-National Consumer Commission. Since from 2019 angizange ngithole isizo ngazo ngagcina lesithi kuthiwa ngilindele i-date ye-court until today. Mase khona manje mase noma ungafona bazokuthola ukuthi ama-complaints bakuthi bakunikeze i-email yakho nama uyithumela it doesn't go through.
Oh, okay. All right. Siyabonga Thobetso. I'm not sure if uzwile yazi i-consumer protector la kade ixolisa ukuthi since kube ne-COVID nani bake baba nenkinga ukuthi basebenze ama-cases, but let her explain to you mhlambe akuzwe, and then Thobetso maybe ungashiyela inamba yakho so that she can specifically look at i-case yakho. Thobetso nanku u-protection u-consumer protector uSisanele, please speak to him.
Thobetso sawubona?
Oh, okay, he's gone. You can go ahead and address him though.
Ngizocela ukuthi uButhobetso it's a pity ukuthi akukwazanga ukuthola yonke imininingwane ngoba uthi i-case yakhe uyihambise e-National Consumer Commission.
Yes.
Okuye kwenzeke engikunotisile ukuthi ama-consumer njengoba kunale break asilo i-office elilodwa no-National Consumer Commission.
Okay.
But in terms of i-Consumer Protection Act ithi uma ngabe kukhona i-province umuntu ocomplainayo ehlala kuyo nomuntu oyisupplier ehlala kuleyo province bayakwazi ukwenza icala ukuthi balilethe kithi. Njengoba singishile ekuqaleni ukuthi siye investigate eqala aliveli lifike lithi malifika kithi liye enkantolo bese si decide ukuthi yini ezokwenzeka. Sifuna ukwezwa umabili amacala ukuze sizokwazi ukuthi umbukeli yena okwakhe noma maybe kukhona la akufanele alungise khona bese siyalisa ke enkantolo uma ngabe ukuthi asisithola isixazululo. Kodwa engizocela ukuthi ubhuti akwenze ukuthi asithinte eofisini lethu ama-number wami ngizowashiya ekuyiwo angangithinta kuwo directly because enye into enginotisile ukuthi ababukeli bayawa-refer ama-case e-NCC only to find ukuthi umbukeli wethu ugcine egcwalise ifomu lase-National Consumer Commission angaligcwalise lethu. Uma engaligcwalisanga elethu icala lakhe alicapturishwa li-assignwe kweyethu i-department ngoba nathi sineyethu imithetho njengoba ngike ngasho ngathi asiyili office elifanayo no-NCC.
Okay, awusiphelezo i-numbers ntokazi before sikhohlwa nje. I'm sure ukuthi sinathi sizozibhala lapha kwilokhuzana kwe-screen so that abantu bazi ukuthi mebenithinta banithinta kanjani, because I'm sure there is that confusion yokuthi i-office lenu naleli lokhuzana le-consumer goods lisebenza kanjani.
I-reception number yethu is 011 355 58 That's a reception. Kwi-reception ke ufike asho ukuthi ucela ukuthi bamise e-Consumer Affairs Office. Kulapho ke bazokwazi ukumsiza khona. Enye indlela esikwazi ama-consumer akwazi ukwenza ukuthi uyakwazi umuntu ukuthumela i-email. I-email address yami is sanele.mthuli@gauteng .gov.za.
All
Kuleyo email uma ngabe unayo i-reference number ayifake ukuze ngizokwazi ukufollowisha ne-team esebenza nge-administration, ngoba kwesinye isikhathi uthola ukuthi umuntu uyifakile i-complaint kodwa akazange alandele yonke imithetho or akawasubmithanga onke ama-documents ekufanele awasubmithe ayi-proof yokuthi le transaction akhuluma ngayo it's in existence.
Okay, all right. Ngizocela nje uphinde u-email address because inumber yakhe e-reception babukele ithi 011 355 5800. Ngiright lapho Ntokazi?
Yes.
All right. Bese thini ke i-email address yakho?
I-email address yami ithi sanele.mthuli@gauteng.gov.za.
All right.
Kanti ababukeli bayakwazi futhi ukuthi baze e-ofisini yethu e56 Umnotho House. Umili uhleze ekubalekisa lokho ukuthi bayakwazi ukuya e56 Umnotho House, it's Ilof Street, bafike kunendawo lapho catered specifically for ama-consumer ukuthi bafike khona bazosho ukuthi inkinga zabo yini.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Uyezwa ke mbukeli bayasho ukuthi la specifically ungavele nje ufike lapha uzocela phela ufake isicelo sakho sokuthi mhlambe bakubhekele indaba yakho. We taking another ad break mbukeli ungayindawo, my lines are still open but ke ikhefu lokugcina lela ngazi ukuthi isikhathi sesiye. Be back shortly after this. It's our final segment. We're still talking about the dedicated consumer courts ezihambiselana ne-Consumer Affairs Offices. My guest still Miss Viljoen ovela lapha Gauteng Consumer Affairs Office alongside the Gauteng Consumer Protector herself, Sanele Mthuli. Mbukeli, I'm about to wrap up the show. So very quickly, Millie, look, talk to us about some of the advantages that actually are there when you go and actually lodge your complaint through the consumer court, and also talk to us about these pamphlets that you've put on the table here.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yes, definitely when you lodge your matter with our office, the advantage is that you're going to get justice for your matter.
And
we're
it's
gonna
also
try,
free of charge.
And it's also free of charge.
Yeah.
And we're going to try our best. Look, it might not always be in
record
your favor
time as well.
And in record time because there's processes. And I think consumers need to respect that. And they also need to understand, because remember that's an allegation when you come in, we still have to investigate.
Consumer responsibilities.
Yes, as part of their responsibilities. The suppliers gives us the runaround. So that it does take time, but we eventually will get to a resolution for you as a consumer. And like we said, again, even if there is an issue of where we hit a
snag in the processes, yeah.
There is always also the consumer court, that we can refer the matter to try and get justice for the consumer.
All right. So you don't just leave matters without giving them advice or seeing where you can actually get them assistance.
Yeah.
All
Look,
right.
when you lodge your matter, you will get a reference number. You will get a letter with who is the investigating officer, consumer investigating officer that's dealing with your matter. So, and you know exactly how far the processes is as well. And consumers have duties. You can also call up your investigator, the consumer investigator, and find out how far is my matter, because they're also drowning in cases, so they're not paying specific attention to one case only, so they have lots of cases.
Okay.
So also just be proactive in following up so that we don't have situations that matters are, just lying around for a long time and you're dissatisfied with our service. We try and help you. Yeah, in terms of our pamphlets, remember we do consumer education.
Yes.
And part of our consumer education, we have webinars. We just conducted one webinar with our stakeholders, which is it's National World's Week. That started on Monday.
Yes.
So we had a very successful webinar we conducted for our Gauteng government employees, because we feel charity begins at home. We do education for the public out there. So our employees also need to be educated. So we had sessions of that where we bring in the Financial Planning Institute or the Law Society or any organization that can speak on wills. And the pamphlets, all our pamphlets, I must say, it's also translated into the vernacular as well. So
I
it's
see,
Afrikaans,
and you've got the
English,
Braille version
and we have the
here.
Braille version of our pamphlets. Our offices also we have access in all the regions.
Okay.
You know, we have offices in Tshwane, in Sedibeng, in West Rand, Motlakeng.
All right.
And our contact details will also share with consumers
All right.
that they know where to contact us.
All right, thank you so much, Millie. So you have absolutely no excuse, mbukeli ukuthi ungalitholi wena uncedo. Now, Mthuli, in closing, very quickly, uthenje, this thing we have to talk about it ukuthi amanye ama case endila nawo ukuthi phela i-consumer izoba ne-dispute ne-dealership ivaniye kukhokhela imoto bese imoto iyathathwa laphayana because akasayikhokheli, and now usezolela in because imoto ayisekho. Ngicela usheshise ntokazi, we've got less than 1 minute to go.
Ngiyawacela ama-consumer ukuthi enze isiqiniseko sokuthi ayawakhokhela ama-agreement le ayenze nebhenki angahlala angayikhokheli ngoba lokho kubalekile, asikwazi ukumsiza uma ngabe imoto isithathiwe.
Okay.
Okubalekile ukuthi njalo mangabe kunento engabathokozisi benze sure ukuthi imoto bayikhokhela, but at the same time thina sibe sidila necase yabo singakuthokozela lokho.
All right, mbukeli ke, you've been warned, senixwayisiwe ke. Thank you so much, ladies, for this informative show. Miss Viljoen from the Gauteng Consumer Affairs Office, thank you so much. Now we're consumer protector like Gauteng. This is Sanele Mthuli. We've got your numbers sizosifaka lapha on our social media platforms as well. Mbukeli, we are going to see you next week with another live consumer affairs discussion khona la kumamba phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. From myself, the team and the crew, nisale kahle. So nibona next week.
Hallelujah.